Hi, welcome to episode 2 of my Kingdoms Reborn tutorial series. I'm Icon and today I will work towards sustainability. In the last episode we built up a little settlement which is somewhat able to live, but if we check out our food production we have way higher consumption than production and we will have to work on that. Of course, I see the future leading me towards a state where I will overproduce food, because that happens to me quite a lot in this game. But honestly, it's always better to have more than not enough, because at the end of the day, overstocked food will not go bad in this game. It's like you won't throw away these fish ever. So basically, if you don't use it now, you will use it the next year. And usually my personal balance in this game was like I overshoot my food production until I notice that my stockpiles start falling again because my production is not high enough anymore to sustain the population, and then I can stock up again until I over exceed again. Of course, there are other methods, but since the game does not really offer me any good previews about how much food we will actually gain, I feel like it's I have to go somewhere like an estimate. So here's a pig ranch. We're going to pick up a pig ranch because these transform space into food. As you see here, the pig ranch is gigantic. It's a really large building, and that's its major downside. You have to bring up so much space for the pigs. But the good news about it, the pigs only need one worker, and that's it. No resources, nothing. They just do their thing. But it's a little bit more to that. But I don't want to overstress my builders right now, because as we see here, things are not going forward too quickly here. And with this game, it's very important to not put up too many jobs at once, because you see here your labor account is now at 0. That's because there are more building spots than we have people available to put into builders. But luckily that was only a very short moment. Laborers, I wanted to say. Whenever that happens to bother you, you can just put up a manual configuration here and tell the game to at least keep one person as laborer. There we go. Usually the game goes very well on autopilot here. I usually don't need to configure anything with these, as long as I don't go for too many building jobs at once. But as you see here, our storages are full again. We don't have any warehouses or any bigger means to store resources as of yet. We need to research that first. But, well, one thing at a time, I like to say. The immigration office is up soon for us, and the immigration office is a very important part of our settlement. Okay, so a trade caravan has arrived. These give you a opportunity to sell some of your goods. Money in this game is, especially in the early level of the game, super powerful. So you can't even buy anything from these people, you can only sell to them. And down here you see the quantity. We can only sell 80 of each. They will, oh, or no, 80 total, sorry. 80 total. And they won't accept more than that. I'm gonna sell away the leather for sure, because it's going to be okay. We're going to allocate more leather in the future. Sadly, there's nothing more that I can sell. The medicine, we need that too much. The steel tools as well. And food and building materials are an absolute no-go for trade. But at least we're gaining 155 gold. The fee here is quite brutal. You can change, you can lower the fees in the game by researching certain technologies and such. So I'm trusting the game now again to allocate my workers manually. Automatically, I'm sorry. And now the immigration office will now bring people to us. So So see here, there's that green circle here, and whenever that circle's full, the immigration office will pull a new person into our settlement. This is a very powerful way to expand your settlement. So we have research completed, and now the foreign trade is available for us. We have now access to the trading post and trading port cards, and we also gain more immigrants now. The next thing I'll research is basic medicine, because I know that the medicine stockpiles here won't last forever. So we are also now able to buy that card directly. This happens whenever you research something. You get access to buy these cards immediately. So basically, once we research the basic tools, for example, the game will ask us if we want to buy a Stone Tools Shop card immediately. At this point, well, I don't want to buy these cards right now. We also unlocked a couple of bonus buildings, which are kind of weird in that way. The Statistics Bureau and the Employment Bureau give you, well, access to some... Well, the Statistics Bureau gives you access to the statistics, as you might have already assumed, and the Employment Bureau allows the managing of job priorities. Sadly, these buildings are quite large, therefore I don't really want to place them down right now. One thing is important to note, though. Once you place them down, they are immediately completed. As you see, they have no required resources, and there's also no people necessary to facilitate them. But since I don't want my room in my colony go to waste like that, I'm not going to do this right now. So we have finished all the building jobs, so we can now allow our dudes to go for that fishing spot, which is really good. So let's see, what kind of buildings do we want? Whenever you have more than one hand available, you see that little 2 over here, you cannot refresh the first one. You can only select the previous hand of cards, whatever you want from it, or pass on it. For now, I'm going to pass on that, thank you guys, and check out what we have here. So we now have access to these trading buildings, but I think I'm just going to lay that hand away for now and see how things are going. We have full storages everywhere, so we should change something about that. The storage system in the early game is quite messy because you always have to expand your storage zones like crazy, and we have now the first quest completed. As you see here, quests give you rewards. 25 people now call your city home, and now we can select one of these books. These books go into buildings. I can demonstrate here, for example, the Forester has 2 slots, just like the Town Hall has, which I introduced in the last episode already. So we can here put up these things. I'm going to go for either a productivity book here or a sustainability book. The sustainability book is really cool because it makes all industries which consume something easier to sustain, whereas the productivity book, well, we could use that for our food production. But I'm going to pick the sustainability book here because this allows me to have an easier time with things like the mushroom farm. But since I already decided on the pig ranch, I'm not going to pick the mushroom farm here. I just wanted to showcase it for a second. Okay, but we now have immigration going, and as you see here, we do have a problem that, wait a sec, employed 11 of 13. Sounds to me like there's some work not getting done because we don't have enough people. Ah, no. Here's another thing. The fruit gatherers in the winter time, we're now officially in winter, stop working because there's no fruit to pick. With the winter, though, there's one thing now to note. We are tremendously low on wood. So whenever that happens, feel free to chop some trees, because your people will die when they don't have enough fuel in the winter. But the death of citizens grows less and less threatening as soon as the first immigration office is up and running, because now if we lose people, the worst thing that can happen is that we go into a spiral of death because we don't produce enough food for our people to sustain ourselves anymore if we don't have enough workers. But at some point, it always balances out again, and then you can regrow from that. So sometimes you will spiral into catastrophe in this game. Believe me, it happens, everybody. And it's really nothing to be ashamed about, because that's the learning process of this game. Or maybe you don't, because you are well prepared and think ahead better than me. Whatever might be the case, just wanted to point out that if you are running out of food, medicine, or fuel here, you see there's the first person starting to freeze to death. So Richard now has a falling heat need. I don't know how to call it. And now he's picking up wood to survive the winter. As soon as this meter reaches 0, well, I think you can't already assume what happens then. So let's follow Richard and his struggle against death. So he's now back at his home, and you see he can replenish his heat demands, and so do all the other people. They struggle for survival now. Sadly. Very sorry for them, but that's just the way it is for now. We're going to put up the pig ranch now, but there's one thing I want to emphasize. Pressing Control F now for the fertility overlay. When you place down pig ranches, try to avoid putting them on good farmland, because that's just a waste of good space. Instead, the pig farm is a happy contributor of food on unfertile soil, because farming is quite a massive thing in this game, and oh dear, we are freezing already. But the good news, the winter is over soon, and there's a good chance that our people will see warmer times before they freeze to death. Usually, from my experience, the first winter is one of the hardest, because you will have trouble to have enough wood to build yourself up while sustaining a stable fuel supply. So you can counteract with that by just selecting a starting grid which has a coal deposit, and you can just harvest coal from the get-go to avoid that. But since that was a something which only makes sense when you already understand some of the mechanics of the game, I didn't go for that one. So let's see if somebody still dies. There's a good chance that this might happen. Very sorry, guys. But the good news now is we are rich. Rich enough to claim the next piece of land. Because as we see here, we're slowly running out of building material. That's one of the big issues of the early game, since you have no good forestry industry yet, and you keep chopping these trees everywhere, you run out of lumber quite quickly. That's why using coal as a fuel source for the winter is really good, because coal is also double as efficient as wood, so you need half the amount of coals. That's just a thing on the side. So we're now going to check out which kind of province we're going to buy. I'm really tempted to pick up a big one over here where coal's already lying around, but as a matter of fact, I am shying away from that decision. I'll rather buy that little one here, because this is rather cheap and it's full of trees. And right now, wood is what I need the most. The coal, I don't really need that. It would be a greed decision. And also, the coal deposits are really lying around here pretty far away. And, well, we could put down a coal mine, I think, in this mountain. But whatever might be the thing, we would be spending too much of our money from my, judging from my experiences. So we're going to pick the small one. Boom. When you're buying new provinces, always think about what you really need right now. And also consider, where do I want to go in the long run? For example, A good step would have also been to pick the grape province here, because I want to get close to the iron deposits rather soonish. But since I haven't decided yet if I want to go for the iron deposits over here or here, it's a rather okay thing. So it's pretty important to think ahead in that department a little bit. I'll definitely pick up this province next. That's something I'm pretty sure about. Well, so we have research completed yet again. We have now access to the basic medicine technology, which is awesome. So we now gained a new card here, the medicinal herb seeds. By clicking on those, we have now unlocked the medicinal herbs. We also unlocked farms because we have unlocked our first seeds. Farms are also built here in the building menu. Farms are also something which you never need a card for. They are just always available for your building plans, which is really good because farms offer you a pretty decent way of gaining materials. Okay, so now we have the freedom to research ahead. I'm not going to rush towards basic tools right now, due to the simple reason that I have such a huge stockpile of steel tools here, and we have only consumed 5 of them last year, so I'm okay with those. Don't rush towards these technologies too fast. Way more interesting is now to see these 3. Pottery, wood industry, and beer brewing unlock each of them unlocks a luxury good, which will upgrade your houses. Upgrading your houses has several benefits. Here. First off, they will look more beautiful. And on top of that, they will also yield more income in science and also ultimately give you more maximum occupants when they level up. Not every level yields more occupants, but overall, upgrading your houses has a lot of benefits. And also, if you check out the middle age here, it also requires you to have a certain amount of houses on a certain level. And if you see here, the tailor requires level 3 houses, the next ages require more houses of certain levels, and, well, I think you got the idea. Therefore, we need luxury goods. Which one to pick? The beer brewery, well, sadly the tooltip doesn't reflect the entire story. It doesn't only brew wheat into beer, it also brews oranges and mushrooms into beer. So I hope that tooltip will be expanded one day. Early access kinks. But it's worth mentioning. So since I have not really wheat, not really mushrooms, and my oranges are also rather low, so I don't really want to go for that option. The furniture workshop transforms wood into furniture. Well, it goes without saying, I guess. So since we keep being low on wood all these days, rather not again. And the pottery transforms clay into pottery and gives you the clay pit, which is used to make pottery or bricks. And it must be built next to a river. So since we have here access to rivers and such, this is not really a problem, and therefore I'm going to pick that. Sooner or later, you will always need to get towards a river, because pottery is also producing bricks for you, and bricks are the upgrade material to get your stuff from the Dark Age into the medieval age. So we're going to pass on a couple of cards here. Let's check out the most recent hand. I think it's about time to pick up a quarry card now too, because I feel like this could be useful, but I'm actually after something else. So sadly, there's no forester around. Let's reroll once. Here we go. Got what I want. Sometimes it's worth rerolling, and we're also going to pick up a mushroom farm, just so that I have a food producer available just when I need him. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the forester somewhere down here, just for the future, or, well, actually, not yet. I'm going to keep that for another area. I underestimated how much area my foresters already cover up here. Whoops. But that's okay. I only do that because I don't plan to expand into any of these directions in the next time. If I would plan to expand into these provinces, this would be a good plan, but since I don't, I rather not. Let's keep that forester for this sector over here, because that will be also really, really good. So let's check out our food production. We are not really on top of it. Oh yeah, we are. So now for the first time we produce more food than we consume. Just oh so slightly, but it's a good start. So since I now have more room, I'm going to introduce these service buildings here too. So we're going to build that one here. The Statistics Bureau is a really, really useful building, but that's why I want to put it up here. You can look up all your different stats there, and you can check out how things developed. The really big improvement towards your tooltips here is that you have everything on one menu where you can read out things more precisely. For example, we see here also production per season, which can be really, really interesting. So if there's some sudden change or out of some reason, for example, oranges, 0 production in winter. Well, I already talked about why, but these are things we can monitor developments during a year and such things. I really like that. That's why I say once you have the space for it, do it, because it's definitely worth it. And let's put the employment bureau somewhere else. How about here? Okay. Here you can put up job priorities. Of course, you can also manage your laborers and builders, just like you can with the city core. But here we can determine which is the most important job if we ever run out of workers. So as you see, the automatic allocation prefers food over everything else, and that's a good thing. You should only change these if you really know what you're doing. What I personally think way more useful than the priority here, that's a little bit misleading, I think. It could be also a job management. The really useful thing is that here in this menu, it can quickly change with the, or, wait a sec. No, I can't change that. Okay, I really thought it would be really helpful if we could change worker amounts in the screen too. So, well, only priorities are manipulated here, sorry. If I confused you there, I confused myself for a moment, but that's okay. So here we can only change the priorities, which is automatically by default a good setting. Change this if you know why you want to do that. I personally like to use this mostly for changing the priority of certain food industries. If I have anything which I favor above something else. Like, for example, if I know that the game is running low in a certain area, that I put the hunters on a lower priority or something like that. Hunters will turn inefficient, by the way, once these burrows are all destroyed. And since you want to cultivate your cities further and further, at some point hunters will grow less and less effective in my experience. Okay, so we're going to place down the mushroom farm here, because this is our little our little food corner here, and this will help us a lot in sustaining our food sources. And we have completed the fish quest. So we have now unlocked the cooperative fishing card. So the happier my people are, the more productive the fishing lodges grow. This is another card which goes into the town hall, but since we don't have any room, I think it's time to unlock to upgrade the town hall. So upgrading the town hall does several things. First, our income rises. Second, we get a new slot for cards. And third, we get a new biome bonus. So as you see here, these upgrades are really, really worth it and powerful. The next one is only available once we hit the Middle Ages. That's sad, but we have to work towards that. So our next biome bonus thing. Productivity for beer or productivity for stone tools and blacksmiths. So, well, either of those are good. I personally would say the beer brewing focus is better if you are living in a area where you're struggling with bringing up the ingredients for a beer, or if you want to trade with it hardcore. And this one is pretty good in general because you can sell tools pretty well, and the materials necessary for those are quite abundant in the course of the time. It's a pretty tricky one, but I'm going to stick with the tool making. There's no real best or worst decision here, I guess. So, cooperative fishing, we have unlocked that now. And research your age next era. And yeah, that's the fourth thing the Town Hall upgrade does. We also now have unlocked new cards. We can now draw the sell food card, buy wood card, and snatch card. So let's see if we get one of those. Steal gold equal to target player's population times 5. Well, that's something which we can use on AI towns. Let's see where one is there. So right now these towns are honestly just placeholders and victims to use Snatch on. We can sell half of the city's food for 5 gold each with this card, and that's really, really, really powerful. And the buy wood card is also pretty good, especially when you are, like I was in the winter there, low on food, low on wood, people are freezing. With this card, you can just do that. Right now, stealing from your neighbors not even has any negative influence, so... Well, the AI towns are, well, consider them more or less as placeholders right now. They are not really meaningful. Okay, I finally want to talk about the pig ranch. Keeps slipping past me. So the pig ranch is a very effective food producer, but it's also a very time-intense labor. So it works like that. The pig ranch produces animals, and once it's full, they start slaughtering. You can also kill when above half capacity and all these things, so it's up to you. Basically, if you really need food, go for the kill above half capacity. If you don't need food and you want a certain stockpile for catastrophe times, go for this setting. Because basically, if you have a full pen of pig here, which you can emergency slaughter, you have a large stockpile of food for difficult times. So, since we are not really living in difficult times here right now, I'm going to leave that as it is. Here, the next, the mushroom farm is getting built, I guess, when the next builder is finally finding some time. And yeah, here we go. The mushroom farm will provide us with a lot of food. And, well, I sadly don't have the money right now to expand again, because I would love to put up a new forester here, but one thing at a time. The mushroom farm now is transforming 8 wood into 22 mushrooms. We now put in the sustainability book, and you see, as a matter of fact, it cuts it down by effectively 50%, and that's really, really just awesome. So the mushroom farm is a very effective food producer. It might be a little bit problematic that you need to invest wood, because wood, as I already mentioned in the early game, in the Dark Age, wood is the material. This changes in the course of time, of course. So that's why this card, the last one that I wanted to introduce, is so useful. We can spend half of our treasury for wood, but max 1,000. Or was it what? I think max 1,000 gold, though. It's a little bit unclear. I never used that card too much, I gotta be honest, because eventually the wood consumption of your settlement rules itself out in the course of time. So we're going to put up a... Well, I want a trading port, actually. And a quarry. Wonderful. Things are coming together. Here. So, the trading port. It's again a little bit finicky to place it down or to find a place where it can reside, as long as there's no... I always struggle in this game with placing down these buildings, so this one looks good. Okay. With the trading port, we will have access to sales in a larger scale. Mainly, we will be able to sell off our overproductions at a regular pace, and that's really, really useful. So last but not least, we're going to put a quarry here. So a quarry is really important to note. You see, there's unhappy smileys. That's because quarries are loud, noisy, and unhappy buildings. So they lower the appeal of an area. So industry in general does that in this game. So try to keep your industries away from your housing areas as good as you can. The radius is rather low, so you don't need to worry about that too much. And judging from my experience, it never hurts to put down a couple of storage yards, too many in the early game, because as long as you don't have access to real storage buildings, it's way better to have these scattered all across town than struggling with resources not being placed anywhere. And I forgot to place down new houses for all those immigrants. Shame on me. Okay. So, here we go. Settle down, my friends. Okay, I think that was enough for one episode. We discovered a lot of new things. We are now closer than ever to the next era. Next episode, we're going definitely to research pottery, and then we're going to be able to produce our first luxury goods. It's really important. And as you see here, that's one thing that I wanted to show you. At some point, the people will just leave when they are homeless for too long. I think when the housing need is dropping too low. I have never watched them under which circumstances they actually decide to leave from this horrible area, but you get the idea. Alrighty, thank you so much for watching, everybody. It was a fun session again. So next episode, we're going to finally get into luxury. This episode, we managed to get a sustainable food support somewhat. As you see, we're still we're still not there. With the growth of your towns, there's always a rising demand of food, so you really need to take care of that. And also, I did lose track on my housing, but, well, comes with all that talking, I guess. So, leave a comment down below if there are any questions. I'm glad to answer them, and as usual, leave a thumbs up on that video to make it more visible to the almighty algorithm gods. It would be a pleasure if you could give me a helping hand there. Also, if you like that content, subscribe to my channel and turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of my daily content. Last but not least, down there in the box, you can also find my Twitch profile where I do daily streams, so you might want to check that out too. Catch you guys next time and have a wonderful day. Bye bye!